Welcome Virgo to your in-depth monthly forecast for October 2025. I'm going to share with you first of all some of the big themes of this month ahead. Then on screen I'll share the event chart right at the very start of October, which always provides an influential backdrop for the whole of the period. I'll then go through each of the key influences in detail to give you a clear picture of what to look forward to this month. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please help it to continue to thrive by doing so now. Please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. Your ruler Virgo is of course Mercury. Mercury gives you an appreciation of precision. But it's not just noticing the details that's important to you. You want to do something with that information that brings you some kind of tangible return. That's because you're an earth sign. Now, the month starts with Mercury, your ruler, in the part of your situation to do with everyday money. But it can also be to do with our values. The sun's in this location too. And you're going to take this part of the year very seriously around these themes. But right at the heart of this month, there is some fantastic news that I can't wait to share with you, which could see an upturn in your income, which will prove to be very welcome. But also at the very start of this month, Virgo, Venus, the relator, is in your sign, suggesting that as you come into this new month, you could be thinking about your personal appearance, maybe about your look, and you may decide to change it in some kind of way. But don't be surprised if you're single, if more than one person shows an interest in you, particularly from the 15th of the month onwards, when there's going to be a big upturn in the speed of communications between you and others, which can prove to be very exciting. But if you recall, on the 1st of September, Saturn, the planet of structure but also of limitation, did inverse back into your sector of relationships. And through to the middle of February will be in that area. But it is joined by the nebulous energies of Neptune on the 22nd, also reversing back into Pisces after its brief visit into Aries. So from now through till the early part of next year is a very important time for relationships. It could be that someone very significant is going to step forwards. But if you're in a tie that's not working so well, I do feel it is going to come under the astral microscope. But just before I go into that, I want to share with you about my unique offer. You can order your personal natal forecast for year 2026 now, and I'll give you the rest of this year free. But also you'll get 30% off the individual prices, and you'll get your life roadmap report in my special package. That really helps you to understand the patterns that have played out in your life so far. All of us. It's totally unique to each person. But understanding those patterns and matching them to the forecast will help you to make your moves in the new year much more shrewdly. But also in my special offer, you'll get your free general zodiac forecast for each of the 12 signs, but also your Chinese forecast, your Vedic forecast, and your love forecast too in my special booklets. Please see the link below for more. On the screen now is your event chart. Right at the beginning of the month, there's the Sun and also Mercury in House 2. House 2 can be about foundations as well. But look at the position of Jupiter and then across the heavens to the Moon. They're in a very bubbly relationship. The Moon may be a bit more cautious in your sister Earth sign of Capricorn, not its best location, but that is a very positive connection between the two of them. And there is a mutual receptivity because obviously Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, the Moon's the ruler of Cancer, so Jupiter's drawing in the Moon and perhaps lessening some of that resistance the Moon in Capricorn has. But they're both in a T-square with your ruler Mercury. Now you have a reputation of being someone who's all over if something needs to be researched in terms of what you want to buy, you can be very savvy. But I think that influence suggests that at points this month, you may find yourself tempted to do something that's a bit more, I don't want to use the word extravagant, but you may want to have a treat. You may want to get together with some jolly friends. You may want to break out a little bit of the discipline that you're being asked to grapple with. And, if you can do that, I actually think that could be very therapeutic. But look at the position of Mars. Mars at the start of this month is in what's known as a semi-sextile with the Sun. So whatever you're thinking about or discussing, Mars in the third house, with great passion, I feel, you are still, despite that potentially fun-loving Jupiter, Moon and Mercury T-square, I still feel that part of you that wants to gain an insight but also gain value is going to be in the mix this month. So that's what we take into the month. I should just say also Pluto, which has now been in Aquarius all this year. If you recall, it re-entered Aquarius on the 19th of November 24. It had been there to the 1st of September that year. But Pluto is going to push you over the years to come to perhaps evolve around your everyday life structures, which is something that you can be quite adhered to. If something's working for you, quite rightly, your mantra would be, why change what's working well? But look at the position of Uranus. That's the most northerly player in this entire solar chart, suggesting there could be, even if it's not something you seek, there could be change around your work, but it may be because of the environment we're all in. But it may turn out to be very liberating for you, and that's part of that wonderful story I'm going to share with you later about the heart of this month. More of that shortly. If you've yet to watch my year 2026 deep dive forecast for Virgo, please click on the link within this video. So on the 6th, your ruler Mercury speeds up, dives deep into Scorpio. Mercury in Scorpio is very canny. That part of you that does like to crunch the numbers is going to be turned up to max. The 7th, however, is a full moon. Full moon in the passionate sign of Aries. It's in an opposition with the Sun in the 2nd house. If something in terms of the ins and outgoings in your situation is a bit out of balance, this is a great opportunity to address that. There could be some unexpected emails or letters around renewals, stuff like software, things like privacy apps, stuff like that may have just slipped off your radar. That kind of stuff, insurance policies, just be aware of that. But on the 13th, this is the start point of the month for you personally. Venus moves out of your sign where it's radiating your charm. It's not its best location, Venus in Virgo. You probably know it's in its 4. And if you do have it natally, it can make people maybe a bit cautious about showing affection. But in your own sign in a solar illustration in the 1st house, it's pushing you in a way to have a bit more confidence. But Venus in Virgo is also great for the attention to detail around things like our hair, our nails, our clothes. So if you have given yourself some kind of glam up in the early part of this month, good for you. But Venus moves on the 13th into house 2. And I can almost say with some certainty that through to the 6th of November, you will enjoy the good things in life where it's good food, meeting up with friends, sensual pleasures, or it may be that you're going to have a stroke of serendipity when it comes to money, because Venus in the 2nd house is very, very reliable in solar astrology for bringing some good news. The trick is not to spend any money that comes in too quickly, and also be aware that if you've been on any kind of diet plan, your resolve could crumble a little bit over the next few weeks. But I mentioned that Venus also interacts with that earlier illustration I showed of Pluto and Uranus. So that's right at the heart of the month. Pluto goes direct. So if you have been over the last 5 months doing a lot of soul searching about what you do for your work, or maybe there have been some issues to do with your energy, your fitness, that you've had to make some changes around, I think Venus moving into your second house connecting with Uranus and Pluto could see a job offer come your way, and it could happen very quickly. And especially if you've been proactive in reaching out to people with Mars's help earlier in the month, because Mars, remember, at home in Scorpio, but for you 3, giving you a lot of conviction and thrust around expressing your ideas. But from the 15th through to the 26th, your ruler Mercury starts to cozy up to Mars, and they meet exactly on the 20th. Now, you're going to be a force of nature at that time. I'm not saying you're not normally a force of nature, but if you've got an idea that you feel really inspired about and you want to share it with other people, your determination to showcase it with thrust, authority, conviction and passion is going to be absolutely amazing. If you have fancied a new mode of transport and you have had a bit of fortune financially, I think you could think very seriously through the last third of this month about treating yourself to it. Whether it's a new bike, whether it's an electric scooter, whether it's a board, whether it's a surfboard, whether it is a car, you could find that quite hard to resist if it's something you wanted for some while and the funds are available. And as a counterpoint to that, the new moon of the 21st could give you the opportunity to do even better around finance, but it is in a complex relationship with Pluto and Saturn. So I don't think it's as free-spirited a new moon as usual, to be honest. So I think being balanced about resources, which comes from that full moon of the 7th, is important, even if I think you can enjoy an upturn. The 22nd, however, sees Neptune join up with Saturn back in your 7th house. And as I mentioned before, they're coalescing together and coming back into Aries, in Neptune's case later in January, Saturn mid-February, come together back in your 8th house, and that will be on the 18th of February. But from now until then, important stuff around relationships. And Neptune is wonderful because it gives us so much intuition. Do we always listen to it? Probably no. With Saturn in the mix, there can be a tendency to be very much more cautious, particularly about your boundaries. No bad thing. Boundaries are important, but remember, Saturn rewards hard work, dedication and application. If you really want to bring a relationship into your world or make one that you're in work better, if you put the effort in, there is a window of opportunity. But equally, Saturn is kind of saying to you, look, if you put everything in and someone is still not really hearing what you're giving to the situation or respecting or appreciating it, then that's something you have to take seriously. And the Sun moves into Scorpio on the 23rd, things speed up, but it clashes brutally with Pluto straight away. There could be a very intense discussion at this point of the month, with Mercury aligning with Mars on the 20th, the Sun squaring off with Pluto, especially if you feel your message isn't being heard, your dedication, application, responsibility, you are someone who takes tasks seriously, and that's one of your great gifts. So I feel through the latter part of this month, a weak relationship could make way. But I want you to know that as Mars moves forwards in Scorpio, it forges a grand water trine with Jupiter and Saturn. And the significance of this is Jupiter and Saturn, when Jupiter first moved into a wonderfully social part of your situation in early June, but came into conflict badly with Saturn on the 15th for the 4th time in a year, but this time in new zodiac signs. And it's possible that you became much more conscious that you were never going to align with one particular person or a group of people. And I feel at the end of this month, if you've reorientated your energy towards people who do appreciate you, do respect you, could be around your social situation, something very, very positive can bring the curtain down on this month. It is true that Mercury, your ruler, makes its 3rd visit of the month on the 29th, moving into your 4th house, and forges a restless opposition with Uranus. You could just want to basically spin out from any kind of responsibilities just as the month draws to a close, which is a bit counter to your usual approach. But there is a big picture here with that wonderful ground water trine, because that's about emotion. But for you, they're in parts of your chart which are about communication. So if your communication is in touch with your feelings, but that's being reciprocated back to you, if you forged an alliance or you clarify a relationship and it is going forwards, it could be a seminal time. And remember, Saturn and Neptune may have their challenges, but they could bring something positive if you put the work in. But equally, the absolute converse can be true. So it's a bit of a polar opposite thing, to be honest, Virgo, depending on your situation. So just to recap, the early parts of this month, very much about resources, using what you've got shrewdly, which I think you have a good track record for, but you could be tempted to splurge a little bit or have some social nights out. Why not? But once Venus moves into your second house, I think that's very positive. And I hope it does bring some good news about a job. Pluto going direct could bring a little bit more clarity and movement in a positive way to some of the virtuous things you've been doing over the last 5 months. So, for example, if you've been watching your diet, you might see the scales start to show that. You may feel your colours better. You may feel that you're a bit more energized. So you can start to get the uplift too. But the month comes to an end with a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, some big discussions, and a spark, and it's very, very exciting for you indeed.